Welcome in Cannes, and welcome especially on this very surprising and interesting Axopar 29 CCX, which stands for Center Console Crossover, a boat that has just been introduced here in Cannes during the 2024 Cannes Yachting Festival, and I think it's really surprising and interesting. A new concept. I understand that Axopar is aiming at boaters who do a lot of fishing, but it is a boat, as mentioned, which is can be called a crossover because there's lounging options, there's very interesting features, but I'll tell you all about it. As usual, I'd like to start off at the bow, and there may be many things that you already know, which are the same on the other Axopar 29s, the Axopar 29 Suntop and the Axopar 29 XE Cross Cabin. But still, there are some minor changes. So let's just start off at the bow. This is the same, but one thing you may notice is that the upholstery is different. This is the standard upholstery on the Axopar 29 CCX called Line-Tex, which I think is a great option. It may be a bit light for people who actually do fishing, but what I understood that it is very easy to clean, so I'm not really worried about that. We have some experience with the other boats with cleaning the upholstery, so I think it should be just fine. There's an anchor hatch and storage right here. What I like on the new 29 is that they moved the bow roller, which is from ultramarine, really nice stainless steel, to the port side a bit, so that you still have good access on the starboard side. Because there's some things you want to store on this side in the bow area. And what you may also see is that there's a small canister, well, it's not even small, but there's a canister here. That has to do with a new option called a gas grill, and I understood that this is to store the small canisters which are used for the gas grill. Of course, with a decent drain for any leakage of gas, which of course drains out in a safe way. These details I still like. These are used to hang up your mooring lights, so a great feature. What you may also notice is that this is a Brabus line version, and you can see that on these black powder coated cleats with the Brabus logo on top, and also with the black bumper list versus the standard grade that is used on non-Brabus line boats. Bow area, soft decking, that is another option which I like, and I think people doing fishing will like it also because it's easy to clean, and if you're fishing bare feet, this is really nice and comfortable with bare feet, and of course it can get wet easily, so very nice and comfy. Another thing is that the setup here basically is the same as on the other 29s. This great U sofa layout. This piece here right below me is an option, which I think personally everybody will choose. There's lots of storage. I won't go into detail all too much about that, but there's storage underneath here. There's huge storage underneath here. One thing I do think needs a bit of working are the backrests, which I think are not really comfortable because of these sharp edges. And I've also noticed that in contradiction to the 29 Suntop and XE, these are difficult to open while these are in place. So that may need a bit of fine tuning. You can see that there's place to have a table right here. We took it out because there are quite rough conditions here. We just took this boat towards the islands just in front of the Cannes Marina. Great location, by the way. But anyway, you can have a table here, which you can use in a high position and sit around the table, have a small lunch or even dinner, and you can have it in this position. While sitting here, you can also lower it and use a filler piece, which is stored right here, underneath here, that actually fits. And you have a nice sun lounge in the bow, but you could also move it back either in the high position, and I think you do that if you're here with a big group having dinner or lunch, because you can sit many people around the table, which is a nice setup. Or you also, in the aft position, you lower it with the lower supports And then you get a really nice lounge position right here with your feet up, which I think is very comfortable and even more comfortable than on the 29 Suntop and XC. And that is because this is higher. And that has to deal also with this concept because the flooring is higher, the freeboard, the wallworks are higher, the console is higher than on the other 29s. That has to deal with the seaworthiness, but also if you use it for fishing. I'll come back to that later. But an added advantage is that we have higher backrests right here. There's cushions behind me right here. To be honest, I don't really understand these because I don't think you'll use them often. And I've made the suggestion that they just do like this and maybe even add a couple of centimeters here for a backrest. But anyway, they're small details. What I love is this is just a very comfy place to sit with cup holders, 2 on each side. So a really nice place to sit. There's cup holders, by the way, here also. I do see them now in stainless steel. It may happen that they will be in black if you order the Brabus line, but that is a detail that I don't know for sure for 100%. So this is the bow area, and of course the multi-cabin is also on this boat. Let me quickly go in and show you the different uses of the multi-cabin. Here's the table. I'll leave it. Hang on, let me put a cushion right there so that it doesn't damage the other parts. There's a toilet underneath here, an electric version on this boat, and there's a small sink with faucet right here. A really nice feature, very practical. You can have this with this small strap here, leave it like this during day use, which I think is very logical to do. But that is a nice feature. And what you can also do, let me get the table out of the way just a moment. You can actually lower this piece here, the steps which lead you into the cabin. You can fold this, fold these cushions, and you have a double bed here. And being the 1.92 m guy, let me quickly show you that this actually is 1.92 m-ish. So plenty of room. You could sleep 2 people at least. Plenty of place. There's daylight if you don't use the cushions on top here. There's ventilation. There's a 220 volt socket on the port side, and there's USB on the on the port side. There's USB on the starboard side. There's 220 volt socket. There's lighting. There's fuses. There's a nice mirror. A really easy and comfortable place. This multi-cabin. I truly love it, and the good thing also about this is that if you really want to sleep overnight, you don't really have to order the aft cabin, which is also an option on this boat. There are quite a few different options to set up the cockpit, with the standard option being just the 2 helm seats, 4 seats on the second row, and an open cockpit. You can have the same setup with the wet bar. You can have the setup with an aft bench. There's one with the prep station and the leaning post, which I think also falls out at the back. And of course the aft cabin, which you could also use as a multi-storage. So different ways to set it up. Before we head back, some small details. Our new options for the CCX, which are these flood/work lights. I love them. They're very practical. I'd like to have these also on my 37 cross cabin. A new option, and they are dimmable if you order the lighting package. I cannot show you on the video, but really nice option. And you don't only have them here, but also on the aft section of this forward-leaning roof, which I think is a nice feature also, especially with this window frame leaning towards the bow. Some people, of course, it's a styling thing also, and it's a matter of taste. I personally like it, and not only from looks, but also from experience, because if you use boats in really rough conditions or in heavy rain, A simple feature is that rain falls off basically, so you don't need to use the wipers as much. You have a much better visibility, and it adds air also in the cockpit area, so you feel much more room in the air. At the helm. Talking about the roof right here, you also see this one, which I think is really nice if you're fishing or if you need really good light, because I think this is over 10,000 lumen, which is really powerful. There's a searchlight also, which of course you can use with a manual control. I think it's a wireless control, by the way. And you see a radar, which of course is an option in the center. A solar panel, it's a 100 watt solar panel, which basically adds further energy, so you extend your the capacity to be self-supporting, to be out in the water, because the battery is filled while you're, for example, like we're doing now at anchor. And there's a small skylight here, and this also is really interesting, because many center console boats with a similar concept, which are made for fishing, usually have one right here. And I personally think that kind of blocks your vision. So with this setup, you still have excellent visibility, but if it's really hot, you open this and the air flows through, especially with this forward leaning roof side right here. So a really good solution. There's Brabus line details such as this, which is also powder coated in black. I mentioned the cleats. I always love having cleats in the center of the hull. Really good, but not only that, there's a good step right here to get on and off. And I always love the ergonomics on Axopar boats, because as you can see, this is really good. I can get on and off. I can also use this. So really good ergonomics, especially useful in rough conditions. Going to the helm. The helm basically is the same as on other boats. There are some differences, which are specially made for the CCX, but also new for 2025 for the XC and the Suntop. For example, there's a lighting package where you have indirect lighting behind this piece here, and I have been told there will be more indirect lighting probably under the footrest here. This also, by the way, is a Brabus line detail with this black soft decking with the Brabus logo. The steering wheel also is a part of the Brabus line package with the Brabus logo right there. But again, talking about the lighting package, you have this indirect lighting and you can dim the lights. There's spotlights right here. They are dimmable. There's ambient light, that's the light behind here, and probably the added light under the footrest. And this is the place where you control the light bar in front of the roof, and also the flood/work lights in the bow and the aft area, and they are also dimmable, so really nice. It's not only good for visibility, but it also adds to the coziness, I would say. If you're at anchor at night, have a nice dinner, it's nice to have a really soft light so you can actually dim it. Of course, there's the option to have a bow thruster, trim tabs. There's active trim on this boat. There's twin Simrad NSX 12-inch displays. I still need to get used to the NSX displays, but I think the quality is really good, especially with direct sunlight on them. And another detail you may notice is these tweeters. There's an even more elaborate, I would say, audio package on the 29 CCX available than on the other 29s, because there's 8 speakers on this boat. There's an even more powerful amplifier, there's a good subwoofer, and there's tweeters. So plenty of possibilities to really make this boat into a party boat and enjoy a nice warm sound. This, by the way, is for the ventilation in the multi-cabin, in case you're wondering. There's a pocket right here to store navigation charts or other items. Can be taken away so that the technical area behind this is also still accessible. I love the footrest. This, again, the ergonomics here are really good. I'm sitting right now, but I was just using this as a leaning post. As you can see, this is a really nice way to be standing here while driving. VHF is an option. There's the blue Brabus soft decking and the ceiling also, which I think is good because it reduces glare. And another option is, I think it's this one, yeah, the helm light. There are red lights here. People who are experienced drivers and who have been driving in dark conditions know that it's not very comfortable nor safe to use white lights while driving because it blocks your sight. But if you use red lights, you could still read a map or other things while you're not blocking your sight. So a really nice feature, this new helm light. And I'm forgetting something. This switch panel is also illuminated. That has been in the past, but there was a simple on and off switch. And now these are actually dimmable also. I think only if you order the light package as an option. Of course, you still have the option to have a cooler here on this side and the sink with faucet also on this side. If you were to slide this seat a bit more, I think aft you could fold it down even more, so you leave it open if you're here using the U sofa, if you chose that option, of course. But still a nice option, which I think everybody will order. Very practical, well insulated also. I won't go into detail about the U-sofa. We made a video in January in Düsseldorf on the Suntop where I think we changed all these backrests because there's many different uses. I love this U-sofa, especially now that you have the multi-cabin, so you can sleep two people there and still have a really nice social area. You can still turn these two seats. So I just love this setup. But there's different ones available. As I mentioned, you can have the standard version with a second seat row right here with 4 seats and an open cockpit. You can have one with a bench behind the second seat row. You can have one with a wet bar. You can have the aft cabin. And there is the fish option. I'm not naming every option with regards to fishing because we're from the Netherlands and our customers don't do a lot of fishing. But what I particularly like about this boat, that it is a crossover, a true crossover. And you won't find things like a great U-sofa on other boats which are made especially for fishing. So I do think this is a great option. But what I was about to mention is that you have an option to have a tackle station, and I think the tackle station is in this position against the second seat row, and the leaning post will be used here with the seat that folds out like this. So I also do understand people ordering that not even while fishing, because there's different uses and I appreciate all of these. For the Netherlands, I am guessing that 80% of our customers will be ordering this one. A nice big table, nice small details is this to put your drinks on, but if you're having lunch or dinner, you fold them out and sit comfortably. Black powder coated railing. And what I did not mention yet is this. I did mention it briefly, but the sides, the freeboard, the bulwarks are higher than on the other 29s. And this means that, of course, it's a boat that drives even drier than the other ones, which are already they offer a very dry ride. But as you can see me leaning against it, I'm quite tall, but I could do fishing here with nothing blocking me basically, because these are mounted in a way that your lines while fishing don't get entangled with the railing, not even with the cleats, because they are more or less angled down. So this is kind of flush like this, with a rod holder right here. So I love this setup with a step right here, a step right here, but also really good for fishing. I don't have tow rails here, but still I don't feel like falling overboard like this. These bolsters, which you may have seen, are an option, which I think everybody would order. There's one thing, they make this area a bit narrower right here. So as you can see, this is a bit narrower. So if I walk like this, it feels a bit narrow. Then again, if you're going from the cockpit to the forward area, sometimes it's good that you're protected. So you just feel safe and you can hang on to the roof right here by using this kind of grab gunnel. So I do think Axopar spent the right amount of thinking about all this, even with these options such as these bolsters. Cup holders right here, there's cup holders also in the backrest, one on each side right here. And this is another option where you can have the gas grill mounted. Obviously we took it off while driving, but I do think that is a nice feature, and you don't only get this, but you also get the canister in the bow. And I think it's meant in a way that you order the actual grill yourself, because there's different options there. This is a Burnwin. I don't know it, but I've heard that it's quite a well-known brand which are offering different options. There's a new option for the 29 for 2025, which is this with a proper extra cooler, actually quite big, and another sink and faucet, which I think is very practical. A minor detail is that I think they need to add a hole somewhere here, because otherwise this will be all damp. So there's this still is a prototype there, and that is what the prototype is for. Before I put it down, here's the optional shower. Nicely protected. I still love the new way of opening these. Now it's locked. It's just a simple matter of doing this like that. And this one on this side now is just storage. So our cameras, our shoes, everything is right in here. You still have these for the lines, but you could also have a bait well on this side, I understood. I still like the gasket that Axopar is using, the stainless steel hinges. There's a lot of nice details. Soft decking all the way. There's a huge storage area also when you order the U sofa underneath here. And just to get an idea, this is the filler piece for the table here in the cockpit. If I push it all the way forward, let me see if there's something. You see that there's still, I think I fit two, which means that this is huge. So you could also bring water skis, a wakeboard, lots of other stuff. So really good storage. I don't know what this is, probably a life raft or something. But still really good storage, and the technical area underneath still is accessible. And this aft area with these bathing platforms is actually relatively big. You often in this size range see that the only option of having a fish purpose-built boat is having a twin setup, which of course has its advantages, and you can have a twin setup also on the Axopar 29. I do think that this setup with the V10 single one is a great setup. They're very reliable engines. I have two behind my 37. But also the bathing platforms right here on either side are bigger than if you have the twin setup. Because as you can see here, this piece right here, this is taken away if you have the twin setup. So this is just a smaller area. So it has its pluses and its minuses. But another plus with this engine, with the single setup, is that it has the advanced midsection AMS, which just makes the V8s and the V10s smoother engines than the twin V6s. So I would order a single, probably V10, because it's quite a heavy boat, and I do think it needs this power. Optional extra bathing ladder. We have the standard ladder underneath the bathing platform on the starboard side. Nice cleats here on the aft, and another detail is you see this here. This is where the support for the aft sunshade goes in. So there's an option to have a nice sunshade right here in the aft, which I think has different ways of use, where you can actually have it straight, covering just the area above you. But you can also fold the aft piece down so you have a bit of a sheltered area here in the cockpit. And I have heard also that they are working on a spray hood for the helm area, so you could stay there being even better protected than you are now. And there's other interesting options. Again, there's lots of fishability options, but there's other interesting options such as a gyro preparation, and well, lots of other things I'm just trying to think of. And one thing I really need to mention is they added the height, they increased the height of the floor and also the sides and the cabin. And that also made it possible to make the fuel tank, which is right underneath here, even bigger. So instead of having 400 liters, which is already 100 liters more than on the previous 28, you now have not 400 but 600 liters of fuel capacity on the Axopar 29 CCX center console crossover. I had to practice on this, by the way. But anyway, 600 liters, which makes this boat a 300 nautical mile plus range boat, which I think is great, especially if you do offshore fishing. Another thing, here are the work/floodlights again on either side. Here are two of the speakers, and there's rod holders also. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's a 360-degree top light, VHF antennas. I don't know why this boat has two, by the way. It does look good. We often install in the Netherlands not a radar but the AIS system, so that you don't have the radar. That is important in the Netherlands because we want to keep the height of most boats under 2.5 meters for bridges, of which we have many in the Netherlands. I'm just looking around if there's anything I'm forgetting, but I don't think so. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I'm not done yet because we're going to take it out of the water, but what I can already tell you is that I love taking it here to the islands. But let us take it on the water and let you show how it handles. Here we go. And we're off doing 1,400 RPM, around 6 knots, leaving this, well, bay I should say, this anchorage. A great area. I always love coming to Cannes, and this year especially because I brought my daughter Kiki with me, who's also learning. I hope she's going to be the next generation making our videos. She already was behind the camera this week for a few videos, and now she wanted to join us on the new Axopar 29 CCX center console crossover. It's a mouthful, but still. I love the concept. As I just mentioned, we came here just an hour ago or so, and we took the boat out for the very first time. Of course, in the meantime, I have some experience with the other 29s, and I love them with the new flared bow, the added volume in the bow, the different hull. I was a bit skeptical about the fuel consumption because I've heard in the 32 years that I've been doing this many times, the new hull is going to be so and so much percent more fuel efficient, and they said the same about the 29, and actually found out that that is the case. So the same applies to this 29 CCX. It's a very efficient hull with regards to fuel economy, but not only that, it runs really well. It's always kind of rough, especially during the boat show, because there's many boats out, and also really big boats planing, so there's waves all over the place, but it just feels very reliable, very rigid, very solid. You don't hear a single crack, nothing rattling, nothing moving. It feels very reliable, and we didn't get a single splash of water on the bow or in the cockpit or anywhere. There's not a strong wind blowing, but again there's many waves, and actually quite high ones every now and then. and it handles them perfectly. So I love this. I'm sitting now. This is an excellent way of driving, but I tend to use it as a leaning post, which I will be doing now. And if you find that this is a bit too much aft, you can slide the seat forward or aft, of course. You can tilt the steering wheel, which I like in this position. This is my favorite way of driving, especially in wavy conditions, because your legs with your knees can also catch the waves, kind of. In the meantime, we're doing 7 knots, and we're starting to get some waves, around 2000 RPM. A really nice speed to do some slow cruising, maybe not the most fuel efficient speed, but if you go in between displacement speed, which is probably around 6 knots or so, and planing 15 knots plus, that may not be the most efficient speed, but the good thing with the new 29s is that they tend to lean back a bit, like this. So if you're in really heavy conditions, you cannot drive over 15 knots, you go slower and the boat leans back a bit, with which you get a much drier, smoother ride. So I love the way they did that. A huge thumbs up to the people designing this boat, the people from Navia, Finland. Trying to see if we can in the meantime pick up some speed. We need to get out of the area in between the islands. So we're going to be a bit brave, I think, but I don't want to bother other boaters. I see some others planing in the meantime, so let me slowly pick up some speed and take her up to plane. Here we go. As I mentioned, this boat has the V10. I think this is the perfect setup. In the specification page, Axopar stated that you can have the 300 up to 400 horsepower engines, with the 300 being the V8 and the 350 and the 400 being the V10. And the twin setup is going to be the twin 200 option. Here already we have some big waves. To be gentle on the throttle, but it handles perfectly. I love this boat. It's really a fun boat also. And again, it's aimed for fishing. We have the rod holders with 6 rods, so we also have to be a bit careful using the drum. But still, it shows that this is a boat with a dual purpose, or even more purposes, because it's really good for fishing, it's good for offshore boating, it's good for lounging, it's good for socializing. So a great multi-function boat. Let me go behind this boat and try to pick up some more speed. "21 knots in the meantime." I don't think we'll be able to get it to top speed in these conditions. So I'll have to take a rain check on that. But still, we're doing 27 knots, which is already quite fast in these conditions. But again, as I stated, I could do this all day basically, because it just feels very reliable. You don't hear cracks or rattling. It's just a very reliable boat. Let me look around me. I'll wait before making some turns. Let me take a very short one to the right here. Hang on, everybody on board. Active trim is on, working hard. Trim down the engine while taking this turn. See no water coming in. A really short turn, no problem whatsoever. And really smooth steering also with this power assisted steering, which makes it really easy. Have to go left a bit here. It's getting more and more crowded. But again, a great boat in these conditions. I am really fortunate to be out on the water here in Kanningen, but I will be out on the water again at the Westeinde-Plassen, which also has its special sides to it. But for now, I'd like to thank you for watching. Let us know if there's anything I forgot. Thank you for watching and have a great day.